Okay, I think we are live. Let's have a look at this. I still need to get the hang of this. Okay. Okay, that's not what I want to see. Fine. Let's have a look. Where do we go from here? I need to figure out how we do this. I still need to get used to this Google Hangout stuff. So apologies for now. What are we doing here? Okay. No, don't want that. Cancel that. Oh, go away. Okay, I think we're live. I'm pretty sure we're live. Okay. If anybody's watching, just type in the chat. Let me know if you can hear. Not sure if I've got this set up correctly or not. I'm pretty sure I do. I'm still getting used to this, to be honest with you. What's up, Boxing Brains? I won some money on Eubank. I put Eubank by points. But yeah, apart from that, I didn't really bet this weekend. I can't lie. I was tempted on Soto, who beat Brandon Rios. I was really annoyed at myself for not betting on that fight because, I feel Brandon Rios is shot to bits. And I know Soto is old, but, Rios looks terrible in his last fight. So I'm a bit gutted I didn't bet on that, to be honest with you. But yeah, won money on Eubank. I was pretty certain he'd beat Degale. And yeah, he did. So yeah, decent weekend for money. What's up, Tetley? What's up, Abstract? How you doing? How you both doing? I don't think this live stream is going to be very long, by the way. I'm hanging out my arse, to be quite honest. Feel all over the gaff. Had a few too many. Nice one. What did you guys make of James Degale versus Eubank Jr.? Did you enjoy the fight? I felt it was okay. A bit messy, a bit scrappy, but, it was okay. Yeah, good Abstract. I've done okay this weekend. I mean, I need to be doing better this year. Last year was a terrible year for me in terms of betting. The year before was really good, but last year was awful. So yeah, hopefully this year, picks up and we do well. What's up, Tom? I'm good, mate. I'm good. Just keeping on in there. I didn't actually see Anthony Darrelle versus Avni Yildirim. I've not seen that fight. I know Darrelle won by a split technical decision, I believe, but I've not seen it yet. And yeah, the fight was it was really messy, technically. Degale was awful. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he was holding way too much, and he was initiating most of the clinching, in my opinion. I know Eubank Jr. is not exactly like he's pretty messy himself, but in that fight, I felt Degale was the main kind of culprit of the holding. Yeah, I agree, Abstract. It's all gone. He's not the fighter he was a few years ago, certainly. I think his last sort of good performance at a world level was probably Darrelle. And even that fight, after the first 3 to 4 rounds, he really kind of gassed in that fight. I mean, his last dominant performance was what, Paraban? That was like 2014. I mean, he's been past his best for quite some time. Yeah, Tetley, I agree. Yeah, the juggernaut rushing in. Yep, he was getting caught with stupid overhand rights from Tavern. You know, a better fighter, could have made him pay. No, it's no worries, Tetley. I kind of I got the gist of what you were saying, mate. Yeah, I agree, Adam. George Groves a lot stronger than Degale. Big, strong super middleweight, and yeah, he could neutralise Eubank on the inside by clinching, but Degale couldn't really do that. And yeah, Degale was he was fighting like how he fought against Truax in the second fight. A lot of clinching, a lot of holding. He's trying to land that southpaw left hand, but it was all really disjointed. Yeah, Joe Joyce really slow, really slow. Defensively, I worry about Joe Joyce. I really do. That overhand right was, landing way too regularly, in my opinion. And Bermain Stavern is well past his best, and he was never that good. Let's be honest. But I mean, Jesus Christ, he was getting caught way too much. And going forwards, I think that could be a problem. For Joe Joyce, I would like to see him actually box a bit more. So when he made his debut against Ian Lewison, he was actually moving around Lewison, using the jab, trying to keep it at range. He was doing an okay job at boxing. And yeah, I think against Tavern, he should have really done that. But, it was what it was. Yeah, I'd agree, boxing brains. Degale at his best was kind of world level, but he was never like the best guy in his weight class. Degale's a weird one. Like I like Degale. I've actually met Degale, and he's a sound guy, but I think a lot of British boxing fans kind of overrated his technical ability because I saw people in the build up to this fight saying, "Oh, if Degale uses a jab and moves and boxes on the outside, he'll win the fight." When has Degale ever really used a jab? He doesn't really, dictate a fight with his jab that often. So, I'll be honest. I know we like to bash Eubank Jr., but even a prime James DeGale would have struggled with Eubank Jr. I know that could be controversial, but it is what it is. Yeah, I mean abstract. I mean Joyce caught Stavern flush with so many shots. I mean, I think it was the second round. He was eating shots, uppercuts, right hands, jabs, and Stavern wasn't going anywhere. You know, going forwards, I mean, could be a problem. One thing, I will tell you one thing though with Joe Joyce, regardless how far he goes, it's going to be a fun ride because, Joyce is going to be involved in some really fun fights. He really is. Oh yeah, Joshua or Wilder, I think would have taken out Joyce fairly early, to be quite honest. I mean, even somebody like I don't know, like a Povetkin or somebody like that, they would have made mincemeat of Joyce on that night, in my opinion. And I can see why Abel Sanchez has said leave your Ortiz fight for now because Joyce isn't ready for that fight, to be quite honest. Yeah, I agree, Adam. I mean, Joyce, he's got a weird punch technique. He punches like Jarrell Miller a bit, a lot of arm punches, doesn't really, follow through on the target, doesn't get his body weight behind the shot. A lot of arm punches from Joe Joyce. It's a good question, Tom Wild, because at the time I felt Joe Joyce would have beat Chisora, but based on Chisora's performances against Takam and Dillian White in the rematch, that would have been a tough fight for Joe Joyce. It really would have. It would have been a good fight. Yeah, exactly. Ortiz at 91 still carries power in that left hand. No worries, Tetley. Joyce versus Rivas. That's a good fight. I'd watch that. Rivas would be dangerous though. A lot of power in that right hand and left hook. That'd be a good fight actually. I'd watch that. Yeah, I know what you mean, Adam. Joyce has a weird style. There's nothing else like it in the heavyweight division. It's fun to watch, but how effective it is, I don't know. At a certain level, he can bulldoze guys like Lenroy Thomas, who's Commonwealth level, and people like that. But I mean, how far can he get with that style? Would you pick him to beat anybody in the top 10 right now? I think we can all rule out the sort of top three: Fury, Wilder, and Joshua. I wouldn't pick him to beat Povetkin. I wouldn't pick him to beat Ortiz. Dillian White, I wouldn't pick him to beat. I mean, I'm struggling to see who he would beat in the top 10. Maybe he could overwhelm a Pulev type, maybe, but I don't know. Yeah, yeah, Adam, I agree. He is like Gerald Miller. Yeah, or Joyce versus Kalnaki would be a tremendous fight. That would be a tremendous fight. A lot of volume, not much defense. That would be a great fight. I'd love to see that. Yeah, I agree, Fat Apples. I mean, when he moves, he actually moves fairly well. He can outwork you in a round. It's just whether he can put it all together against a top level heavyweight. It's okay doing it against Ian Lewison and Bermain Tavern, who are terribly out of shape, but sorry about that. But yeah, the time will tell. I personally feel he's above like domestic level, but he's probably like a European level fighter. But yeah, it's just really hard to tell where he goes. I wouldn't like to match him, to be quite honest. If I was a matchmaker, I wouldn't like to match him, to be honest. Yeah, the heavyweight division is very interesting. Obviously, we want Joshua Wilder, we want Wilder Fury too, we want Fury versus Joshua, but there's a lot of good fights outside that. Kaunaki versus Joyce, Dillian White, Lewis Ortiz. We can go on and on. There's a lot of good fights outside the top three guys that not too many people are talking about. And yeah, outside the top three, nobody's really willing to fight each other, to be quite honest. And it's a bit, it's a bit annoying. Yeah, that's a good shout, Fat Apples. I'd like to see that. Joyce versus Caballo, that would be a good fight. Caballo, undefeated, good boxer. Beat Chisora. That's a good test. I'd watch that. Yep, he needs a good chin with that style because, I mean, he was taking overhands from the main Tavern on a regular occurrence. So, I mean, if he's taking flush right hands from a Joshua or God forbid a Wilder, Christ, God only knows how that would happen. How that would end out. Sorry. Yep, Joyce versus Hunter, good fight. I think Michael Hunter signed with Matchroom now, I believe. I've heard rumours about Michael Hunter versus Carlos Takam. I think that'd be a good fight. Yeah, I would make White a big favourite over Brazil, but Brazil has the heart of a lion. He's got a good chin, and he does have good power. Dillian White, he has kind of slugged it out in a few fights, and if Brazil can get him into one of those type of fights, you never know. You never know. What's up, the Quags? How you doing? Fitzstevern may have won last night. I mean, possibly. I mean, the Stevern who fought Areola twice. Again, I know it's not exactly the best heavyweight out there, but that version of Stevern was certainly better than the one that turned up last night. He would have gave Joyce a tough fight, and I never rated Stevern that highly. I'll be honest. But yeah, I mean, can we just talk about the corner? I mean, somebody in his team must have realized that he was not in the right condition to take that fight. That is embarrassing. I mean, he really didn't do himself any justice with the shape he turned up in, to be quite honest. And I was glad he actually sat there and took his beating because when I saw the weigh-in, I thought he would just kind of pull out when he got in a bit of trouble. But yeah, he took his beating, to be fair. But looking back at it, maybe he would be kicking himself now that he didn't actually train for it, because he did have some success. And I don't believe that Tavern trained for that fight. He was saying he trained for like, what, 6 or 7 months? He was in camp. Yeah, right. If he's in camp 6 or 7 months, when God Christ, well, there's hope for us all. Let's put it that way. Man, I don't know, man. Dave Allen it isn't good. I think Lucas Brown's going to beat Dave Allen. I think he's going to clean him out. And Lucas Brown ain't good. Yeah, nobody in the corner. That's a good point, Dan Mack. Nobody in the corner actually mentioned that right hand from Stavern. Nobody said in the corner, "Oh, put your hands up." Don't get overzealous. Nobody mentioned it. That's a good point. Yeah, listen, I'm not saying Stavern was ever a great heavyweight, because he wasn't. But he was okay at one point. He was okay, and yeah, I agree with the Quags. After that first Stavern fight, you know, that was it. Sorry, after that first Wilder fight, that's pretty much it. Yeah, Joyce isn't good technically. He's all volume and all aggression. See you later, Abstract. I'll try and get on BDA's show soon. You thought Yildirim beat Darrelle? I've not seen that fight yet. I need to see it. I know it was a technical decision, but I've not seen it. I picked Anthony Darrelle to win that fight, but I need to go and see it. That's pretty much it, Fat Apples. There wasn't much variety from the main Stavern, and Joe Joyce was still getting caught, worryingly. He got robbed, apparently. I need to see it. That was for the WBC, wasn't it? Yeah, that makes Ewbank look a bit better, doesn't it? If Yildirim got robbed against Darrelle, then it kind of makes Yildirim's. Sorry, it makes Eubank's win over Yildirim look a bit better. Yeah, I agree. I agree with Quags. I mean, Anthony Darrelle, he had, he was a good athlete. He had a lot of athletic ability, but Anthony Darrelle just didn't have a heart for it. And sorry, Andre Darrelle didn't have a heart for it, and Anthony just isn't that good, to be honest. Yeah, I agree, Hashman. He needs to retire. I don't think he would have had an easy time with Eubank, though, regardless. I think James Degale, he was always overrated by British boxing fans, to be honest. James Degale. People made out like, oh, I mentioned it earlier, if he used a jab, he would have won the fight easily. Degale's never really had a good jab. He's never been a good long-range boxer. In the amateurs, James Degale would jab a bit, but now in the pros, he's not really jabbed for a long time. And I think he would have always struggled with Eubank Jr., despite how raw Eubank is. He would have just struggled with that tenacity. Yeah, Anthony Darrelle, yeah, I think I mentioned it. He ain't good. And David Benavidez will beat Anthony Darrelle. And I'm not sold on David Benavidez. I think I wouldn't say he's overrated. He's unproven. To be honest, I would pick Eubank Jr. to beat Darrelle. Yeah, that would have been funny, Simpson. I think Joyce is a weird one. I would like to see him actually box, use his legs, use his reach, because he's done it. Like I said, he's done it in a couple of fights. Did it in his debut against Ian Lewis, and he boxed well. Used that jab. He did it in another fight where he blasted out a guy in one round. He set it up really well, where he knocked him out with a right hand. He showed glimpses of good boxing ability, Um, but when he pressures his opponents, I think he's very vulnerable. Did Dwyer rate Degale as pound for pound? Jesus. Yeah, Degale's been a guy like it's a weird one. Like hardcore fans in the UK rated him extremely highly. Um, but I always just saw him as like a tough guy who would fight anybody. But boxing wise, he was never like a great boxer. He was just awkward. Weird stance, weird punch technique. Just an off key style. And when his athleticism dropped, when his speed went, there wasn't really much there. Yeah, I agree, Adam, and I agree, Hashman. I think Benavidez beats Darrelle. Hopefully, after that, we get to see how good David Benavidez is because I keep on hearing people say, "Oh, he's amazing," but I mean, this guy went life and death with Gavril, and Gavril is what a fringe level fighter at best. I think people sometimes it's like Degale himself. I mean, Benavidez has good hand speed, decent power. But have we seen him take a shot? Have we seen him, display a really good jab? Have we seen him box on the outside, bang it on the inside? We've not really seen much of Benavidez to make that kind of claim that he's a great fighter. I need to see more. But yeah, his natural attributes are quite good. Yeah, Joe Joyce, versatility, definitely. He's got a lot of attributes, Joe Joyce. He just needs to put it together on that one night. And at 33 years old, right, he needs to kind of get a move on. I think Manuel Charles is a good step actually for Joe Joyce next. He's in line for that belt, the regular belt. I think that's a good fight for him, to be honest. Plant schools Eubank worse than Groves did, maybe. Plant has a bad style for Eubank, no doubt about it. But I don't think Plant is as physically strong as George Groves, and I don't think he hits as hard. So maybe Eubank could get close and do something. I'm not sure. I think a lot of the super middleweights are very unproven, to be quite honest. I think Callum Smith is probably. I'd say, yeah, I'd say Callum Smith is arguably the best guy at 168 right now, just based on his win over Groves. Yeah, I agree. Cop end above British level, he always looked very vulnerable. I mean, even after the fight against Groves, so he lost to Groves in 2011, and the very next fight he fought for a European title against a Polish fighter, Wilczewski. And yeah, that fight was very close. Could have gone either way. And yeah, arguably he lost that fight, to be quite honest. So yeah, Degale has always struggled at Euro level and above. The Darrelle win was set up for Eubank or Plant to get a free belt. Maybe. I think they're keeping that belt free for Benavidez, though, to be quite honest. Yeah, I'll be honest. I just want to see the back of the Darrell brothers now. I've had enough of them. Does Joyce beat Wilder, Joshua, or Fury? I think he needs a few more fights, to be honest. Maybe in the future, but yeah, he needs to tidy up on a few things. When's the next ITV PBC card? We haven't got one in a while. I'm hoping it's Spence versus Garcia. That's going to be free, I think. I'd imagine so. Who would pay for that in the UK? I wouldn't. Yeah, I agree, Lewis. I think it's too soon. Char or Bryant Jennings for Joe Joyce? I think Joe Joyce would walk through Bryant Jennings, to be honest. Jennings always looks weak. Apart from that Klitschko fight where he stood firm for the most part, he looks really weak. He's a big, strong guy, but he looks what you see him getting pushed about and doesn't respond well to shots. I think Jennings needs to knock it on the head. He needs to retire, unless he wants to be a journeyman, of course. Angry Brit. he was still overloading and still the same Eubank in my opinion. It was a totally shot Degale. I think Degale was past his best. I said it before the fight, but yeah, it was pretty much the same Eubank Jr. I think he tried to box a bit early on, tried to counter with that right hand, but that kind of went out the window, and he reverted to type. Is Freza Quendo going to fight Joe Joyce? I've got no idea what's happening with Quendo, to be honest. No idea. I heard he pulled out against Manuel Char, but I'm not sure. That guy is going to be mandatory in 10 years' time. Joyce can beat anybody. Much will depend on his chin. If he's got like an Oliver McCall type chin, you never know, because his style is unique. I mean, let's say Joshua, for example. I mean, we've seen Joshua gas out in fights. The Klitschko fight, for example. If Joyce could weather the storm early on and work the body and, push Joshua back, make it a tough fight, you never know. You never know. Why the hell is Billy Joe going up to 168 for Eubank rematch? Yeah, I think he's looking for easy paydays. I mean, I've lost all faith in Billy Joe, to be quite honest. I think he's ducked Andrade like he ducked Golovkin. He never wanted to fight Danny Jacobs. I mean, Billy Joe's never wanted to fight any good middleweights, as far as I'm concerned. I've just had enough of him. As good as he is, I think he's a talented fighter, but if he's not fighting anybody, it doesn't matter. And the guy he's fighting for that vacant title, I mean, come on. Come on. He can punch and he's much slicker than Groves. As Katagai was a pressure fighter, look how he dealt with him. And if Eubank tries to box Plant, it would be embarrassing for Eubank. Yeah, I agree. I think I'd make Plant a favourite, but I think Eubank, he's not as good a pressure fighter as Katagai, but I think he's more tenacious. I'll give him that. You never know. I don't think Caleb Plant is... I think he's good, but again, I want to see him against the other champions. It's kind of... These guys at Super Middle just need to fight each other because nobody's going to be a star in that division. They may as well just fight. Price versus Joyce next. I'd watch that for banter. That'd be funny. Price will get knocked out. Not saying I'd pick him yet. They're just interesting. Yeah, there are interesting fights. I like Joyce just because his style is unique. It's something different. Joyce, I believe Joyce got knocked out in the amateurs by Kussman, Sergei Kussman. I'm pretty sure. Was it Kussman? Maybe. But yeah, in the pros, he looks pretty solid. Not been down yet. Degale has too many bad habits to be an elite fighter. I agree. Plant-based is the true diet. Nah, man. I couldn't live on that. Yeah, Shepherd of Sons, Kussman KO'd him, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Joyce in the amateurs was pretty much a pressure fighter, and that was it. I mean, I remember his fight against Tony Yoka in the Olympics. I felt he should have been gold medalist, to be quite honest. And it's funny, Joyce should have had a gold medal, but Joshua, as we know, he lost to Felix Savon in the first round. Joshua has a gold medal. He shouldn't have really won. And Joyce should be a gold medalist, but it is what it is. Yeah, I agree, Dan Mack. Well, I don't know, actually, Dan Mack, because I think Eubank Jr., I agree he's a middleweight. I mean, I've seen him in person, and the guy doesn't look like he's above... I'd say he walks around at 170. He's not that big. He's slim. So, yeah, I agree he should probably... he should go back down to middleweight, but who can he beat there? Could he beat Golovkin? Absolutely not. Could he beat Canelo? No. Would he beat Danny Jacobs? I wouldn't pick him. Would he beat Andrade? I can't really see it. I think the more winnable fights are at 168, to be honest. But yeah, I agree he's a middleweight. No, I don't fat apples. I didn't buy it. I streamed it, I'll be honest. With the British guard on the last legs, Do you have much hope for British boxing at world level? I personally don't. I'm not liking what's coming out of the UK amateur system right now. It's a good point. I mean, all these guys are retiring. There's not many prospects you look at and think, wow, he looks really good or he looks really exciting. The only prospect I'm I wouldn't say I'm sold on any prospect really, but the only prospect out of the UK I really like is Boatsi. I like his punch placement. He's nice and aggressive, good power, good punch technique. Boatsi has more of an Eastern European style actually in how he fights, in my opinion. Just really fluid, fundamentally sound, doesn't waste any punches. I like Boatsi. I think he's a good talent. But a Coley, Anthony Fowler, Cordina, Josh Kelly, I'm not sold on these guys. They're saying Smith and Usyk doubleheader. And Smith chooses a voluntary defense. I mean, Smith's going to fight nobody, isn't he? Let's be honest about it. Joyce is going to hand out beatdowns and end careers. Well, he ended what was left of Tavern. Yeah, that's right, Boxing Brains. Yeah, the Quags, Billy Joe. I mean, it's not looking good for him right now. 2019, mark my words, it's going to be another nothing year for Billy Joe. He's going to fight nobody. He'll beat this guy in April for this vacant title. And after that, he won't really give us much. Gilberto Ramirez is a harder fight than Andrade. For Billy Joe, yeah, I agree. I don't think Gilberto Ramirez is as bad as people say. I've seen a lot of people out there say he's terrible. I don't agree with that. I think Gilberto's a good boxer, tall, long, rangy. I think he's pretty decent, to be honest. And I agree. I mean, Billy Joe never really wanted to fight him, but as soon as he saw that title was vacant, then yeah. Or is it vacant? I mean, I saw that Ramirez said he never vacated it, so I don't know what's going on there. Boxers you think would be good to study as a beginner? Kovalev, Dmitry Bivol. They're the type of guys who make boxing look easy, in my opinion. I mean, Kovalev's performance against Alvarez in the rematch, I was really impressed. Technically very good. Didn't really do anything out of this world, just kept it basic, kept it simple, kept it from distance, used that jab. Really good performance, good movement. Usyk still runs rings around Joyce. Yeah, you'd have to pick him. But you never know. Joyce is a big lump. More rounds. I think Joyce would have a chance, but yeah, you'd definitely pick Usyk. You'd pick Usyk over any heavyweight, the Quags? I'd pick him over any heavyweight outside of the top three, but, the top three are big guys. People are saying Ewbank would beat Andrade. I mean, I wouldn't say. I definitely wouldn't pick him. Yeah, when was the last time you saw Degale dominate a fight? I mean, I don't remember. Was it Paraban in 2014? I agree, Fat Apples. Andrade hasn't really fought anybody, but, my eyes tell me that Eubank would struggle still, to be honest. Yeah, Savon beat Joshua. Vannes Martirosyan, I mean, I know he's having trouble right now with Don King. I liked Vannes. I thought Vannes was a good fighter at 154. He lost against Lara twice and Charlo. I felt he beat Lara in one of the fights. I forgot which fight I thought he won. Was it the second fight? I don't know, but yeah, Vannes Martirosyan was always a good fighter at light middleweight. Good technically, did the basics very well. Tough guy. What do I think of DAZN so far? They seem very amateur compared to ESPN and PBC. I don't know, man. It's hard to say because from a UK perspective, I don't really I've not really seen anything, to be honest. I mean, the price tag looks good, but I don't know how it runs. I don't know what it looks like. The fights they've put on so far have been mainly miss rather than hit. So yeah, it's going to be a slow progress in my opinion. Yeah, I agree, Adam Scott. I don't buy pay per views. Rarely buy pay per views. I think I mentioned it the other day. The last pay per view I bought on my own without my friends was Brooke versus Spence. Anthony Yard, we've got. Yeah, he's a great prospect. Anthony Yard could be good. You never know, but I think they're protecting him for a reason. I think they know something there. I don't think he has a chin or stamina. I certainly think he's got bad stamina. Was the ITV coverage / commentators better than Sky? Listen, anything's better than Sky in terms of commentary. I mean, I don't mind Ronald McIntosh. A lot of people don't like him. I don't mind him personally. Yeah, I agree. Shepherd of Sons, Boazzi. I like Boazzi. I think he's a good prospect. But yeah, the division is very tough. Yeah, pay per views are a waste now. Yeah, Kussman, he dropped Joyce, didn't he, in the amateurs? He dropped him, and I've not seen it for a long time, but from what I remember, he gets up, and it was an amateur stoppage, from what I remember. A bit like for Joshua. Who did Joshua get stopped against? Was it Nistor? Oh, Hashman, you an amateur boxer. Fair play, man. 5'11" featherweight. Southpaw, man. Yeah, Ronald 7'2" McIntosh. Yeah, Billy Joe's going to hold that belt hostage, of course. He'll beat the guy and he'll fight a load of no-hopers. Yeah, I've said this 54 Trail Swan. I mean, I've said it in the past. I mean, the quality of UK shows on Sky has become diluted because Eddie Hearn is, he's focusing on the zone. A lot of like mid-tier British fighters are going out to America to fight now, and obviously these guys are not fighting on UK cards now. Guys like Callum Johnson, they're fighting in the States against Shawnee Monahan. Who cares about that fight? I don't. I want to see Callum Johnson versus Boazzi. That's the fight I want to see. And, you know, Eddie Hearn gave Yard and Frank Warren all the stick in the world for not putting Yard in with anybody. But, I mean, Boazzi could fight Burton, he could fight Johnson, but they're not happening. And yeah, the mid-tier fighters are getting shipped abroad to get beat up on the zone, and that takes away from the domestic shows on regular Sky. Yeah, I saw that cop end, the 168 belt. I mean, is it vacant? Isn't it vacant? Ramirez is saying no. Warren is saying something different. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I agree with Adam Scott. I think Boazzi is the only sort of, really exciting prospect on Matchroom right now. Yeah, Adam Smith's a clown. I don't like him at all. World level. Yeah, I've lost hope in Billy Joe. Yeah, Ken Buchanan, he gave Roberto Duran a really good fight at lightweight. Yeah, I'd like to see that Shepherd of Sons. I'd like to see Matchroom, sign some of these guys from Eastern Europe and develop them. I know Top Rank have got quite a few now, and they're coming across quite nicely. I'd like to see Hearn do the same. To be honest, they're out there. A lot of guys out of Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan. These countries have great amateur systems, And yeah, these guys are going to turn over. The guys like Klitschko and Golovkin. These guys are they're inspirations for a lot of these fighters out there. They've proved that you can turn pro and make a lot of money. So I think we're going to get a lot of Eastern Europeans slash Eurasians turn pro, and I think there's going to be a lot of good fighters come out of that part of the world. And people need and promoters need to start tapping into that talent. I think Top Rank have realised that there's a lot of talent from that part of the world. I mean, they are literally outperforming the Cubans in the amateurs now. That's the hotspot of boxing now. Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan. Cheers, JT. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've not seen that Charlo fight against Varnes since the day it happened, but yeah, I agree. It was very close. I don't know, Amir. Amir. I mean, Usyk over. I'd pick Usyk over Dillian White and Joseph Parker fairly comfortably. I think I'd also pick him over Luis Ortiz. I think Luis Ortiz has his feet are very slow. I think I personally believe Usyk could box him and outpoint him. Hashman, is that a play on Hatman? That's... no, he's saying um, no. His name is actually Hashman. That's his nickname. Yeah, I think Usyk beats Parker actually fairly decisively, and Dillian White. Yeah, Jimmy Mack, cop end. Jimmy McDonald, he's a really good sort of strength and conditioner. He gets his fighters fit, but you know, doesn't really say much in the corners of any consequence, does he? Showtime commentary isn't perfect, but I think it's the best out there with Bernstein and Malinaji. Malinaji's a funny one because when Malinaji's calling a fight where he has no investment or no bias, he's actually pretty good. But when he doesn't like a fighter, he's I think he can get a bit petty and unfair. Like Manny Pacquiao, for whatever reason, he hates Manny Pacquiao and he'll never give him a fair shake. But when he's calling a fight where he doesn't really have any agenda, he's actually really good. Just his voice. Should Sky drop Hearn? I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Although, as boxing fans, do we want Sky to fail? Because if Sky fails, maybe we get the zone in the UK cheaper. Who knows? I'd rather pay £10 a month than the Sky prices because I don't watch any other sport on Sky apart from boxing. Did you agree with the Tony Harrison decision? I felt it could have genuinely gone either way. I didn't think it was the robbery that people made out, to be honest. Tom, I never knew that, mate. Did Kyle Froch make George Groves fall on his own leg in front of 80,000 people at Wembley? Shout out to Ty and Booth. Umar, IFL Umar. He's got a really cult following now, hasn't he? He's got a really, really good following. It's mad. Yeah, I 7-5 to Charlo, 7-5 to Harrison, a draw. Close fight. Should a world champion boxer have a fat girlfriend? I mean, if I was a world champion boxer, I wouldn't have a fat girlfriend. Listen, each to his own. Each to his own. But yeah, that's not my style. I think these days, everyone, I don't mind thick, but these days, girls, they'll say they're thick when they're just fat, and if they use it as a cop out. Anyway, we'll get away from that. Could you imagine two foreign fighters headlining a show in the UK? Would love to see Usyk versus Povetkin at VO2. I would love to see that. Honestly, I would. The last I watched. I like it when like high-profile foreign fighters come to the UK. We don't get it often. When Golovkin came to the UK, I was gutted I didn't see it. I watched Cleverly Kovalev in Wales. I got to see that fight live. That was a good experience. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see foreign fighters fight in the UK against each other. I can't see it happening anytime soon, though. What's up, AA? How you doing, mate? You good? I don't know, Tom, if Wingy's back. Hopefully he is. Yeah, that's a good point, Carnival. I saw your comment actually. Bomac, Bradley, and Poncha. I mentioned that on the broadcast of, I think it was Kovalev Alvarez. I said that on Twitter. I felt Bomac. I mean, when he talks about Crawford, he comes across a bit like I don't really take him seriously. But on commentary, he was actually very good, and he was giving Kovalev credit for what he was doing. He was saying what Alvarez could do better, and he was calling it down the middle, which was refreshing. And yeah, Poncha's pretty good as well. Yeah, we've got Josh Taylor. He's a solid prospect. Pacquiao stole all of Paulie's side pieces. I think I could fucking steal his side pieces. Jesus. I think too many people are overrating Dillian White. He's made improvements, but a lot of people seem to think he'd easily beat the likes of Wilder, Usyk. He doesn't get it himself. I mean, I think some people are getting overboard on Dillian White, but he has improved, like you said. He's a tough guy, good power in that left hook. I would pick Wilder to beat Dillian White. Wilder's quicker, he's longer, he hits harder, he's got a better jab. He keeps range a bit better. Wilder's better, but if Dillian lands that left hook against Wilder, he can knock Wilder clean out. If Wilder's getting shook by, Eric Molina and losing multiple rounds to Arthur Spilker, I think Dillian has a good chance. I'd give Dillian a 30% chance now of beating Wilder. I wouldn't be that surprised if it happened. If he knocked out Wilder, I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah, I agree, Hashman. I think Thai boxing, he's disrespectful, but he's kind of funny at the same time. My humor's lowbrow anyway, so I'm going to find that sort of thing funny regardless. But yeah, I suppose they do kind of dick ride their prospects, but I mean, from a UK perspective, like I see fucking Matchroom and Sky Sports dick ride to the next level. So when I see it on a different side of things, it's not quite as apparent. Sky had that down to a T. Anthony Fowler's the next Kyle Froch, apparently. Things like that. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't get the Anthony Fowler Kyle Froch comparisons. I don't think they fight similar at all. I really don't. But whatever. Dillian White would beat Usyk. I think Usyk would outbox him. Did Tony Bellew get home safe to his wife and kids last night? Maybe. Maybe. I can't stand Tony Bellew, I'll be honest. I'm not a fan. Not a fan at all. He was a decent fighter, don't get me wrong, but yeah, not my cup of tea. Usyk will have power, at heavyweight. He'll be able to put on weight, and his power will follow him up. Yeah, I think he'll hit hard enough. Yeah, Ed, we probably will get fucked over. Do you think there'll be a heavyweight world boxing super series? I don't think the top 4 will be involved in the tournament, but maybe top 10, top 15 would be a good tournament. Yeah, I don't think the top 4 would be involved, to be honest. But yeah, maybe the guys outside that, it would be a good tournament. Fat apples, come on, man. Cheers, Emily. Gassiev, a harder fight for Dillian White than Usyk? I don't know, man. I think Usyk would box rings around Dillian White. It's going to be interesting, actually, to see where Gassiev goes now. I believe he's fighting relatively soon. Yeah, Hashman, I agree. It's totally different now. 10, 15 years ago, skinny girls were all the rage, but where were we? Dillian White couldn't even KO Dave Allen. To Dave Allen's credit, he's not a great boxer by any means, but he's got a good chin. And yeah, I actually agree, Hashman. Taylor's not really a prospect anymore. When he beaten the likes of Postal, you're a contender. Yeah, you can't gas against Usyk. Dillian White went life and death with Chisora. Yeah, he did. He did. He lost multiple rounds. Arguably, some people felt he lost the first fight. I felt White just about won the first fight personally. Yeah, I Fat Apples. I'd pick Wilder to beat White, but I think White has a puncher's chance in that fight. I really do. No, I don't know, Adam. Man, I think Wilder's very beatable, very beatable. But obviously, he's very dangerous at the same time. It is what it is. It's one of those ones. Whoever lands first. If Dillian lands that left hook, as Wilder falls short with a right hand, who knows? Wills 101. From what I heard, Gassiev is staying at cruiserweight, but you never know. That could change. The Quags. I think White could beat Wilder. Yeah, man, I agree. Nitram PE. Hey, if you don't mind, can I ask what's your opinion on the LGBT community? That could come on another channel. That's all I'll say. I've got another channel coming out, and I'll talk about more. I'll talk about things like that on another channel. More sort of like politics and whatnot. But on this channel, it's just strictly boxing. The LDBC, they're rubbish. I mean, I don't watch their stuff, to be quite honest. Yeah, I've heard of a boxing asylum. I listen to it sometimes. They've got a good panel. They know their stuff. The lads on the boxing asylum. They talk about some obscure fights. Sometimes they'll reference fights from like 2005, random fights that nobody remembers. I like their knowledge. Yeah, they're good people. Queensbury arse lickers. Who's that? I mean, the boxing asylum guys. I think they're fairly. They're pretty decent from what I've heard. Yeah, I think it could Anthony Moore. I think if Billy Joe beats if Billy Joe wins that vacant title, I think a Eubank Jr. rematch is very possible. I agree. 54 Trail Swan. I want to see world class boxing on free TV. The closest we have right now is PBC when we get the cards from America. But we've got to stay up till God knows what time. That made me jump. Jesus Christ. Yeah, we've got Cheeseman. We have Ted Cheeseman. Jesus. Oh, I've just lost where I was in the chat. Regis Prograis versus Josh Taylor, who wins? I think it's pretty much 50-50. But I think Taylor's proven at a higher level. I rated his win over Postal. He's got a good win over Miguel Vasquez. I would lean towards Taylor. Yeah, but a tough fight, as New Day says. Yeah, I think Chisora, over the years, his chin has deteriorated, and he's not as durable as he once was. That's actually a good point, AA. How much improvements did we see in between the two Chisora fights? It's a good question. I felt White looked better. He looked better in the Parker fight than the Chisora rematch. Smido is a casual. Andy Patterson knows his stuff though. Yeah, I like all the lads on Boxing Asylum. I like is Steve Wellings the host? I rate him as well. I actually rate him highly. I like Steve Wellings. I don't watch their show all the time, but when I listen to it, I always enjoy it. Yeah, PBC is like 5 bad fights for every one good fight. That's the problem with the PBC. We keep on hearing about how great welterweight is, but we're getting Errol Spence versus a lightweight. I mean, come on, let's just have Errol Spence versus Porter. Let's have Errol Spence versus Furman. Let's have Furman Porter too. Let's have Spence versus Danny Garcia, the actual welterweight Garcia. We're not getting these fights. And yeah, the PBC, of course, I want it to do well. Of course, I want it to deliver the fights we want to see, but, it's really hit and miss at best. What attributes does a good pressure fighter need to have? Um, Stamina, I'd say punching power, body work, quick feet, a good jab, because so many fighters, you'll see them applying pressure. They won't jab their way in. Um, you know, Shifting, underrated technique. Look at Golovkin, how he shifts when he throws punches to drive his opponents back. Countering on the front foot. Head movement, of course. There's a lot of techniques out there for pressure fighters. But the thing is, with pressure fighters, they get put in a drawer like they're all the same. Like Brandon Rios will be seen as the stereotypical pressure fighter, but he's Bobby Basic. There's a lot better pressure fighters out there to look at. But people, kind of see, for whatever reason, people see pressure fighting as the lowest form of fighting, when in reality, I always think that being a world-class pressure fighter is harder than being a world-class outboxer, because there's fewer world-class pressure fighters out there, in my opinion. Degale has either the most slippery shoes in the world or his legs were jelly. I think his legs were gone, mate. Who would I like to see Callum Smith fight next? I know it's not going to happen, but I want to see a fight with like Caleb Plant or Benavidez. Yeah, I agree with Quags. Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia would be a good fight. I'd pick Errol. I think Errol Spence has better, technical ability. I think he's got a better punch output. I think he's a better fighter all round. But defensively, Errol Spence does get hit. Danny's got pretty good timing with that left hook and right hand. You never know. It'd be a fun fight, but I'd pick Errol Spence in that one. Dillian White is too unathletic. He's uncoordinated and clumsy. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, like you said, he's exciting. And yeah, the new day, Benavidez, Plant, Ramirez, Eubank. These are the guys I want to see Callum Smith fight. Yeah, I saw Hashman. I was gutted because I was looking at betting this weekend. I bet on Eubank to beat Degale. I won that one. But I was so tempted to bet on Soto to beat Rios, because I think, like I said earlier, Rios is shot to bits, but I didn't bet. I didn't have the guts to do it. And I'm gutted because Soto was a fairly big underdog, actually. And yeah, Mike Tyson was a good pressure fighter. That's a good shout, Lewis, actually. Mikey Garcia, he would be a very good fighter to show beginners. Does all the basics very well. Or Danny Jacobs, again, another guy, does the basics very well, a good jab, good long range boxing. He can counter, he can defend himself quite well. Jesus, what's this about? Yeah, Soto was 5-1. That's it. I saw it, and I bottled it. To be quite honest, I bottled it. That's annoying when you see odds like that. You don't capitalize on it, and then it comes out. Yeah, it's annoying. But I still won on Eubank. I won on Eubank on points, so better than nothing, I guess. Watch Eastern European fighters if you're bigger, like somebody like Postal. Yeah, that's a good shout, Hashman. Like when I've not had an amateur fight, I've only sparred, but I was like 6'1" at welterweight, like welterweight at my lightest, and yeah, that's the kind of style I try to adopt. Long range boxing, jab, right hand, keep it long. But I was so uncoordinated. All I had was a right hand, pretty much. I had decent power in the right hand. In fact, I hit quite hard for a tall, lanky guy. I hit really hard, but I had no ability whatsoever. I'll be honest. And yeah, these days I spar a bit in and out the gym. That's all I do now, to be honest. I find it fun more than anything. JT, when you said people think pressure fighters are the lowest form of skill in fighting, why do I think that? I mean, just I don't know. It's just how I kind of. It's just how I what I see fans say. When fans look at a pressure fighter, oh, he's a bum. He's got no defense. All he does is come forward and get punched in the face. They kind of put pressure fighters all in the same basket. They don't separate world class pressure fighters from the Brandon Rioses of this world. Like Golovkin. I mean, defensively, I mean, for a guy who comes forwards all the time, he's really solid. Um, yeah, Hashman, they're coming, mate. I'll definitely do some more prospect watches. I think Devin Haney could be the next one. I like what I see there. Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, Philippe Hergovich is another one. Yeah, I like Philippe Hergovich. I think he's a very good fighter. He reminds me of Vitaly Klitschko, actually, just in how his stance, his style, how he kind of leans back from punches, his punch technique. He reminds me of Vitaly a bit. I like Philippe Hergovich. I think there's some good heavyweight prospects coming up. Um, and there's one prospect coming out of Russia. I'll tell you his name. I need to look at his name to actually pronounce it, or attempt to pronounce it, I should say. Really heavy-handed guy coming out of Russia. Let me just say, what's his name? 1 second, lads. He looks brutal though. His punching power looks crazy. Let's have a look. What's his name? Oh, let's have a look at BoxRec. Okay, his name is Arslanbek Makhmudov. I'll type it in the chat. But he's a really big puncher. He destroyed. There's a knockout on YouTube. I'll type his name in the chat. Hang on. Let's have a look. Arslanbek Makhmudov. That's how you spell his name. Yeah, YouTube his name and look at a couple of his knockouts. There's one knockout that is brutal. It's kind of similar to like it's Mercer versus Morrison level brutal. Really bad knockout. But he looks very good. I like him. It's a good point, Carnival. And thank you, Brooklyn Child Boxing Talk. And yeah, Brooklyn Child has a channel of his own, by the way. So check him out. Kana Islam. Yeah, Kana Islam. Good fighter actually at 154. He's not fought for ages. I'm not sure what's happened. He was rumored to fight Kell Brook at one stage, and I think that fight would have been very tough for Kell Brook, to be honest. In hindsight, they're probably glad they never took that fight. Teofimo Lopez at lightweight. I think Lopez is a good prospect, but I need to see a bit more. He's got power. It looks like he's got power. A lot of athletic ability. Explosive. But I would like to see a bit more on the technical side of things. I'd like to see him use that jab. I'd like to see him box a bit more. But yeah, Teofimo's a good prospect. Yeah, you know the one I'm talking about, Wills. The where he landed a combination on the guy when he was kind of out on his feet. That was a brutal knockout. Rakimov is a good prospect / contender. I'll need to check him out. I've not seen him. I don't think. Yeah, Brook is done now. He's done. Usyk could beat most heavyweights, but he does get hit a lot. Yeah. The heavyweights only need one shot. I agree. I think Usyk would be up on points against Joshua or Wilder, but eventually I think he's going to walk into a big shot and get knocked out. Lopez will have to move up soon. He's a growing lad. He's only 20 years old or 21. His lightweight reign will be short regardless. Yeah, I agree. Gyasov, I saw him on the undercard of, was it Povetkin Joshua? And he looked fairly solid. Sultan Zorbek looks like a good prospect. He was on the IFL MTK show from Kazakhstan. I've never seen him fight. I know MTK have got a couple of Kazakhstanis on the books now, so anyone impressed with Joyce? We mentioned that earlier. I felt he did the job. He worried me with his defense. That right hand from Tavern was getting through, but he got the job done. And I think Carnival says it best actually in the chat. He said he was impressed, or more like fascinated. Fascinated is how I would describe it. I'm on the train. It's going to be fun regardless. He's a fun fighter. He's gonna. It's going to be a fun ride. That's all I'll say. It's going to be a fun ride. Has anybody heard of this Golovkin DAZN deal? I've been hearing. I'm not sure if it's official. I've heard Golovkin a minimum 3-fight deal with DAZN, maybe up to 6. Potentially a Canelo trilogy fight. Saw it on Twitter earlier, but I wasn't sure whether it was official or not. Oh yeah, apparently it's really close. Golovkin to DAZN. I'm not surprised at that at all. That's the best move for Golovkin. I want to see Golovkin back in the ring, I'll be honest. I like Golovkin. Ivan Dichko, good heavyweight prospect. He's a good boxer. Good jab, good right hand. Big guy, good power. But Dichko doesn't have a good shin. He got knocked out a few times in the amateurs. He got knocked out against I forgot his name. The guy from is it Majidov or something like that? He got brutally knocked out in that fight. But yeah, Dichko is a good boxer. But I think his chin will let him down, to be honest. He doesn't handle pressure that well. I think he'll be the Kazakhstan version of David Price in the long run. Why did Yulusinov sign with Matchroom? Should have signed with Top Rank. Hearn isn't willing to pay opponents to fast-track his fighters. It's a good point. Yulusinov kind of appears to be treading water right now. I kind of want to see him step up to see how good he is. Oh, not official yet. Okay, not official. Golovkin to DAZN. Michael Benson, yeah, he tweeted about the Golovkin deal. Dichko's been inactive yet. I want Golovkin to flatline Andrade. Yeah, I'd like Golovkin to beat Andrade. I've got no problem with Andrade. I'll be honest. He's an okay boxer. Doesn't really he doesn't really register. He doesn't really wind me up. Doesn't really excite me. He's one of those fighters. I agree. Hashman Brook should have fought Vargas in that unification fight, and then went on from there. Whatever happened to Izu Ugono after that Brazil defeat seems to have finished him. Izu Ugono, he has fought once after that defeat. I think he fought Fred Cassie. He beat Fred Cassie, and since then he's not fought. I believe Ugono was supposed to fight somebody in Poland. I forgot who it was though. It was a Turkish heavyweight. I forgot who it was. I don't know on Swan. Andrade, he's very unproven. I'd pick Golovkin to beat Andrade. I'd pick Golovkin to knock him out, to be honest. He is Shepherd of Sons. It's a shame he never turned pro, because he would have been a good heavyweight. He had the style to turn pro, Majidov. Yeah, do you know what? I agree. Just needs to get the best deal financially. He's nothing really to prove. I would like to see Golovkin have one last run, to be honest. I hope he gets a few big victories in the tail end of his career, because early on he wasn't getting the fights. So many people ducked him, from Hassan and Dam. I mean, even Darren Barker way back when, he ducked Golovkin. Uh, you know, most people ducked Golovkin. Alvarez, when he was younger, ducked Golovkin. Sergio Martinez didn't want it. But so I would like to see Golovkin get some names on his resume before he retires, just to kind of silence the doubters, because I think Golovkin's going to be one of those fighters where most people will appreciate him when he's gone. But yeah, when he's around, people don't really see him for what he is, and that's a great fighter. But it is what it is. Boxing fans are some of the most negative people on the planet when it comes to their sport. Yeah, I've never understood that. Yeah, I'd pick Lewis. I'd pick Golovkin to beat Andrade. Yeah, that's the one. JT Andrew Satterfield. That was a nasty knockout. Horrible. Like, he was out on his feet, wasn't he? And then he just took him out. Nasty. Yeah, Martinez didn't want it. And to be quite honest, I'll be honest, Martinez, at that stage of his career, he would have got wrecked by Golovkin. You know, he Martin Murray beat Martinez at the end of his career, and Murray got robbed. And I'm not saying that because I'm English. I don't really care about that sort of thing. But Murray won that fight, 100%. I don't see Golovkin stopping Andrade. He would be 37 and has declined from both Canelo. Sorry, he's declined from Canelo. I'd still pick Golovkin to knock out Andrade. I'll be honest. I mean, Varnes put Andrade on his backside. I don't see. I'll be honest. I don't think Golovkin was getting outboxed by Jacobs. Golovkin was out jabbing Jacobs on the front foot. Jacobs had success. The thing is, people say, "Oh, Golovkin got outboxed by Jacobs on the outside," but I kind of see it on the flip side. I mean, I felt Jacobs looked better when he stood his ground and worked the body of Golovkin. When he stood his ground and actually let his hands go, he looked better then. He gave Golovkin some problems. But yeah, I mean, I felt Golovkin won that fight, I'll be honest. I think when Jacobs looks back at that Golovkin fight, I think he'd realise he could have done more. Yeah, I saw that Shepherd of Sons, Vianello, he knocked out Satterfield as well. Is Del Boy based on Del Boy? Do you mean Derek Trotter? No, it's not. It's just a nickname I had. Yeah, I agree. New Day. Billy Joe needs to get out of it with that sort of rubbish. Come on. Andrade is chinny. Every time Walter hit him, it had an effect. Yeah, I'm not sold on his chin, to be honest. Now, I think Jacobs is a better fighter than Andrade. I think Jacobs is underrated. I mean, would Andrade beat Selecki or Derevanchenko? I wouldn't be certain on that whatsoever. I think Selecki and Derevanchenko are very good fighters, and you know they're good wins. Eubank won't beat a top 168 fighter. Degale wasn't the same after Badu Jack. Just can't. Yeah, yeah. Eubank needs to be at 160. I said this earlier. Yes, he does in terms of his size, but in terms of people who he can beat, he probably needs to stay at 168. Yeah, I mean, I felt Brook got beaten up. He had a couple of bits of he landed a couple of good right hands, a good uppercut, but yeah, he got beat up in that fight. I agree, Adam Scott. I think people in the UK, for the most part, overrate their boxing talent. But I always felt Brook was a genuine world class talent, and I think that fight was just the wrong fight for him, and he's never looked the same since. But that's just my opinion. Maybe I overrated Brook as well. Yeah, I agree. Eubank, he's not everybody's cup of tea, but he is comedy gold. Um, One thing I will say about Eubank, he's got a good chin. He'll try his heart out. I'll give him that much, but there's not really much quality there, to be honest. Ah, I forgot where I was. Where was I? Yeah, here I am. Billy Joe and Kell Brook are the biggest waste of talent. Certainly from a UK perspective, I'd agree with that. Yeah, Andrade was a very good amateur, but as a pro, I just don't think he's really put it together and had that one standout performance yet. And I think I'm not sold on him at all. Did you hear Lomachenko say he could retire after becoming undisputed in a weight class or moving down to fight Gervonta Davis? Yeah, I heard that. I hope it's not true because I like to see him. I love watching him fight, but it's his choice. If he decides to retire after doing that, then fair play. Yeah, James Degale he is a glutton for punishment. Tough guy, but yeah. Yeah, Golovkin, he was a world champion in the amateurs. He knocked out Butte, didn't he? Beat Darrelle. I'll be honest, I've still not seen Golovkin's amateur in Athens. He obviously got a silver medal, but I've not seen his fight from that games where he lost. I've not seen it yet. I need to watch that actually. 54 Trail Swan. Every time I watch Andrade, I get mesmerized by his ability and speed. Listen, Andrade shows glimpses of quality, but to me, he's like he never puts it together and he's never dominant for a whole fight. I'm not sold on him at all. I'm not saying he's bad or anything. He's obviously a good fighter, but yeah, I need to see more. every time I watch them. Yeah, I said that already. Derevanchenko, very entertaining. Hopefully he gets more big fights soon. Derevanchenko actually has a fight coming up. I'm not sure when it is exactly, but he's fighting Jack Kolkai in an IBF eliminator at middleweight. You obviously Kolkai actually fought Andrade and gave him a good fight. You know that's a good fight. Derevanchenko versus Kolkai, good fight. I'm looking forward to that. Kolkai is a solid fighter, to be fair. You know, does the basics well, high guard, decent pressure. That should be a good fight, but I'd pick Derevanchenko to win. Yeah, I agree, Adam. They should have kept Brooke out in America, at least. Yeah, the welterweight scene was there. Yeah, Shepherd of Sons. I've seen some strange people on pound for pound lists. I mean, Brooke was on there at one point. I've seen Wilder on pound for pound lists. I've seen Jamal Charlo on lists. I've seen Errol Spence on lists. I mean, it's silly. It really is. Having said that, though, can I really moan because I don't really have one myself? You know, it is what it is. When I see a pound for pound list made by somebody, I usually just kind of think that's their favourite fighters. It's not really who they think's the best, but yeah, I think Billy Joe would beat Andrade. Says New Day, maybe. I think that's a 50-50 fight. Billy Joe has fought better competition though. You've seen somebody have Wilder at number 2. That's mad. Shepherd of Sons. Jesus Christ. That's crazy. I don't think heavyweights should even be in the top 10 personally. But there we go. Hashman Boxing. Jacobs is chinny. He got dropped by Mora, got knocked out by Pirog, but went the distance and possibly beat Golovkin. Andrade is a much slicker and faster boxer than Jacobs. Yeah, Jacobs, he has had moments where his chin, you know, kind of lets him down. But Jacobs' chin is weird because we've seen him take big shots from like Derevanchenko, Golovkin, Selecki, and people like that. But, you know, then you see feather-fisted fighters like Mora drop him. It's a weird one. I think it's more like lapses in concentration. But, yeah, his chin isn't like amazing or anything like that. But still, I mean, I still think he's a lot more proven than Andrade. Oh, Dan Raphael. I mean, yeah, Dan Raphael has Spence over Usyk on his pound for pound list. Yeah, Spence isn't even the most proven fighter in his division. Yeah, I agree. Dan Raphael was. I'm not a fan of Dan Raphael. I'll be honest. I'm really not. I'm not going to dog on the guy and his like appearance or anything, but I mean, has that guy ever thrown a left hook or an uppercut? Do you reckon? I'm not saying you've got to talk about boxing, but still. Yeah, ESPN. I saw that carnival number 10 pound for pound. Crazy stuff. Number 5 at cruiserweights a year ago. Nah, crazy. Dan Raphael had Wilder beating Fury by a wide margin. Madness. I wonder how Dan Raphael talks about Fury now. Now Fury's signed with ESPN. I've never liked Dan Raphael, to be honest. Never been a big fan. Not one of my favourites. New Day has Dan Raphael top 30 pound for pound. Um, JT, do you think boxing is one of those sports where people need to get involved in to understand and gain knowledge of boxing? Not necessarily, but like I've never fought, I've never had an amateur fight, I've only sparred, but it still kind of gives you like it kind of gives you a rough idea of it gives you a better perspective. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think it's that important to be honest. It's not like boxing's a super complicated sport. Ah, Coppinger's terrible. He had Alvarez versus Kovalev for rematch, like 1 point in it to Kovalev. I couldn't believe that when I saw that. Awful. Absolutely awful. I get there's some fights out there that are like, it's kind of open to interpretation. Some fights are very close, but that fight wasn't close at all. I think I gave Alvarez 1 round, maybe. Yeah, Mike Coppinger's terrible. The Korobov fight was awful. Do you mean the Charlo fight? Charlo Korobov, yeah. Do you know what? Actually, I want to talk about that. Korobov Charlo could have gone either way. The scorecards were terrible, as we know, but the Fox commentary team are terrible, absolutely terrible. I think they're worse than Sky. I was disgusted with them lot. Absolutely disgusted. There was a moment in that fight, and I'll never forget it, where Korobov lands like I think two left hands, maybe, bang on the chin, and Charlo comes back with a shot that clearly misses, and the commentary team, get like they get excited over Charlo's missed punch, but they said nothing about the shots Korobov landed. That was embarrassing. That the commentary on that card. Korobov, he ran Charlo very close. Yeah, Coppinger loves the Charlos. I've noticed that on Twitter. Weirdo. Yeah, Donny Nietes. I felt Donny Nietes lost his last fight to Ioka, to be honest. I felt he was very fortunate to get that decision. I'll be honest, for Quags, when I saw that fight live, I was really mad. I felt I felt the scorecards were terrible and it kind of wound me up. But when I watched it back, I'll be honest, I felt Charlo. You could have made a case for Charlo winning, sort of by a point, but I felt anything more than that is wide. I felt it could have gone either way. In all honesty, and yeah, Charlo did hurt him. I think it was in the last round, I believe, off the top of my head. That's a good fight, New Day. That's a really good fight. Jamal Charlo versus Rob Brandt. That's a good fight. Rob Brandt, he's got a really good punch output. Yeah, that's a good fight. I'd like to see that. Do you know what the weird thing is, though? I mean, Charlo, he gets all of his hype, but, somebody like Eubank Jr., who has been exposed at world level, he's got better wins. Well, maybe not actually. Maybe Austin Trout's a better win than anything on Eubank's resume, but Eubank's fought much better competition than Jamal Charlo, yet Jamal Charlo gets all of his fanfare. I don't know. At least Eubank Jr.'s fought some people, regardless of what you think of him. I'm not a fan of Eubank Jr. either, but at least he's fought people. Yeah, I felt Rob Brandt looked pretty good last time out. He's certainly improving. He's improved a lot since that fight against Jurgen Bremer. These losses don't necessarily ruin your career. I mean, he went up in weight against a really underrated technical boxer. He got outboxed, and he came back and improved. That's what it's all about. Eubanks versus Charlo, I'd watch that. That's a good fight. Imagine if imagine if Eubank gets on top of Charlo. Do you think Charlo's got the mental toughness to cope with that? Like imagine Eubank's not a good boxer, but if Eubank went sort of gung ho as he does, applying crazy pressure on Charlo, would Charlo stand up to it? Maybe he'll time Eubank coming in with that right hand, but Eubank's taken bigger punches than what Charlo can deliver. I mean, George Groves, I'm pretty sure hits harder than Jamal Charlo. I think Eubank would be a really tough fight for Jamal Charlo, thinking about it. Not saying he'd beat him at all. Spence, Mikey, and Crawford never beat a great fighter. I'd agree with that. I mean, Spencer's got a good win over Brook, but Brook was kind of, coming off that loss, a bit weight drained. But it was away from home, so I'll give him credit. But apart from that, there's not really much on the resume. Mikey Garcia, Salido win looks good on paper, but, he was kind of saved in that fight. I felt the Robert Easter win was okay. Um, but yeah, Crawford, the postal win was decent. But yeah, I know what you mean. But none of these guys have beaten like what you describe as pound for pound level wins. They've not beaten pound for pound fighters. Eubank Senior would get in Charlo's head. Yes, he would. Eubank Senior would mindfuck Jamal Charlo. That would be hilarious. Eubank Senior just talking nonsense to Jamal Charlo. I think Jamal Charlo's head would explode, to be honest. Do you think Cashman, he's a big puncher, but does he hit harder than George Groves? And Chris took flush punches from Groves, and he took them quite well. I don't think Charlo would knock Eubank out. I think Eubank, he might lose the fight, but I think he'd go the distance. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, the Quags. I mean, his chin held up against Groves. He took a couple of big shots off Abraham. He took some shots off James Degale. I think Eubank's chin is proven. As we know, Eubank Jr. He's not a great fighter, but he's a tough guy. JT says I think Lucas Brown could lose his next fight to Kamil Sokolovsky. Sokolovsky knocked out Nick Webb, beat Sean Turner, beat Naylor Ball, and went points with Gorman. You never know; it could happen. Lucas Brown isn't great. It's a risky tune-up fight. Eubank would finish Charlo. The Charlos are so overrated, it's a joke. That's what Swan says. Did Charlo knock down Trout? I don't even remember. I don't think he did, or did he? All I remember, it was a majority decision, I believe. That's all I remember. I want to say no. I don't know, to be honest. Jamal is a bigger puncher. He drops people with jabs. Yeah, he does. His jab is a good punch, I'll be fair. It is a good punch. But, I don't know. There's something about Jamal Charlo I don't like. I don't think he would. I don't think he would cope well with the tenacity of Eubank Jr. He won't give Jamal Charlo any room to breathe, and I think Jamal Charlo he likes his space. He likes to work. I think when you put it on him, I personally believe Charlo will fall to bits, and I could be wrong on that, but that's just my opinion. That's what I think would happen. I think Charlo against somebody like Eubank would kind of swarm him, maybe hit him on the side of the head, maybe get a bit dirty. And I think Charlo, he wouldn't respond well to that type of fighting. Yeah, Trout did give Charlo problems. I think Liam Smith can beat Hurd. I think Hurd's too big for Liam Smith. I think Liam Smith would make the distance maybe, but I don't think Liam Smith could beat him. I think he'd get outworked. Yeah, Eubanks. He's a big guy though. At middleweight, he'd be a big guy. He's strong. He's tough. Listen, I'm not saying Eubank's a great fighter. We all know what his weaknesses are. And Charlo does things that Eubank doesn't like. He does have a good jab. He can kind of move a bit. Well, he doesn't move, but he can keep range a bit. Um, I don't know though. I'm not sold on Jamal Charlo. In fact, I'll take back what I said. He can't really keep range at all. If you stand off Charlo, yeah, he can look good, but I think Eubank would give him a tough fight. I maintained that. And the thing is, Lewis, that fight can happen now because Eubank is with PBC. I'd watch it. And I'm not saying he beats Charlo. I'm just saying it won't be an easy fight for Charlo at all. Weirdly, Eubank's a fighter who's kind of grown on me, actually. Kind of appreciate him for what he is. He's what would you even describe him as? A brawler, a swinger, a slugger. I mean, whatever he is, he's entertaining. Yeah, New Day. From what I see, Jeff Horn has. I think he's gone up 2 divisions. From what I heard, they're actually talking about Jeff Horn versus Rob Brandt. I heard about that rumor. How true that is, I don't know. Yeah, I know what you mean, Hashman. Charlo likes it when guys come at him, but Eubank, he's not like a straightforward pressure fighter. He kind of comes in at weird angles. He'll fly in. It's actually fairly hard to time Eubank. Yeah, Groves did it, but like it wasn't like he was timing Eubank over and over and over and over again. No, a lot of the time Eubank would kind of fly in and just clinch George Groves. George Groves wasn't. I don't think he was landing as many clean shots as we think. Just he was landing like eye-catching big punches, but I think Eubank is kind of hard to time because of his awkward style. But yeah, Eubank's uppercuts are funny. It's just like it's watching Eubank fight. It's like watching somebody. It's like watching a boxer in a video game. To be honest, just uppercuts from crazy angles, flying him with big hooks. He's got no boxing brain whatsoever, Eubank, but he's fun to watch. He's fun to watch. I don't know, man, Hashman. I just think Eubank's chin is proven at this point. One thing. If one thing I'm sold on Eubank about. Well, sorry. If there's one thing of Eubank I'm sold about, it's his chin. I think Eubank's chin is real. Because look at the George Groves fight. He got caught with some big right hands, and he didn't just get caught. He literally jumped into them, and he took those shots remarkably well, in my opinion. And yeah, I mean Jamal. He couldn't get rid of Austin Trout. He couldn't get rid of Matvey Korobov, who Andy Lee managed to knock out. I think Jamal can punch, obviously, but I mean, how proven is Jamal's power at middleweight? Fact of the matter is, Jamal Charlo has fought one healthy middleweight, and that was Korobov. And even he was coming off a long layoff, and he was coming off. He didn't have any preparation for that fight, and he went the distance. Other than Korobov, he's fought Sebastian Hyland, who was injured, and Centeno, who, in my opinion, is not middleweight. He knocked those guys out, but he's fought one proper middleweight, and he didn't knock him out. So I don't know how good his power is at 160, personally. He can punch, obviously, but to what extent? Yeah, no, I agree, Hashman. I think Eubank was hurt by Groves, and I actually felt he should have. He actually got dropped in that fight, I believe. Yeah, he got dropped in that fight, but it wasn't counted. But he still took the shots really well. And yeah, Darrelle is shit. He's garbage. I don't like Darrelle. Basically, he's keeping that belt for Benavidez. Once Benavidez comes back from his cocaine ban, whatever he's on, he'll bash him up, and then Benavidez will be the world champion again. Yeah, exactly. Korobov, he had to lose extra weight as well, and yeah, he did have everything against him, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, Charlo at middleweight, he's fought 3 times. He's fought two guys, one who was injured, and one other guy who wasn't really a middleweight. He knocked those guys out, and the only healthy middleweight he fought was still compromised, but he couldn't knock him out. I'm kind of unsold on his power at middleweight. Yeah, I agree, Lewis. I think the Eubank hate is a bit over the top. We all know what he is at this point. He's a limited fighter, but he's fun. He's entertaining. And to his credit, he's actually fought a few good names now. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes next. Eubank Jr. is a weirdo. He's a weird guy. He's a strange guy. He's got the weirdest personality I've seen in boxing for a while. He's got the best poker face in the world, Eubank Jr. He fronts really well because I don't think he's anywhere near as confident as he makes out. He fronts really well. Yeah, he's like Michael Myers, isn't it? He's got you don't see the guy smile, you don't see the guy laugh. He's the same. He's the same in every single fight. He's the same in every interview. Just really monotone, to the point, deadpan. I quite like that about him. I'll be honest. It's something different. Yeah, he's definitely. You can tell you can tell Senior's influence has rubbed off on him. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes at 168. I don't think he's got a hope in hell against Callum Smith. I think Callum Smith is way too big. He hits hard. He's got decent boxing skills. But yeah, maybe Eubank Jr. could fight. I don't know, like Darrelle maybe. But like I said, I think Darrell's fighting Benavidez. Oh yeah, I agree with Quags. He could be a sociopath. Eubank Jr. He's probably just acting. He's playing up to the cameras. To be honest, Eubank should start his own 164 division. Yeah, I agree, Adam Scott. Smith versus Eubank's a big money fight in the UK. But, Eubank's going to get paid by the PBC now. I'm sure they're going to pay him well. How do I think he'll do against Plant? I think Plant has a bad style for Eubank Jr. Plant's got a good jab. He can move. He can box. I think he would kind of keep Eubank Jr. off balance. He'd keep him swinging, and he'd probably outpoint him. But you never know. I don't think Plant is the strongest of world champion out there. So who knows? I think Eubank will be competitive at the least. It's a good fight. I'd watch it. Anyway, people, I think I'm going to head off. Been out all day. Been a long one. Got a gap early in the morning. Appreciate everyone that came out. I'll definitely try and do some more live streams in the future. Definitely something I like doing. So, yeah, thanks for coming out. Hope you enjoyed it. Peace.